go.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you got to stretch your legs in that little break. For those of you who are joining us now, just a small reminder that we are recording the session for informational and training purposes, and we'll be able to share the recording with you afterwards if there are any parts of this webinar that you would like to see again. There are many speakers coming up and some very interesting voices that we're about to hear. And so to enable everyone to get their fair share in space and also to allow for Q&A after the panel, just a small reminder to please try to stick to your allocated time. Our technical backstage people will ring a small bell when there's 1 minute left, which should be a small signal to you to wrap up. In the previous session, we heard that Norway has been through a long journey, as my colleague in the Ministry of Culture wrote in the chat in the break. It's taken at least 100 years, and as the panel discussed, it's been struggles and discussions along the way. We will now turn to Ghana, Tanzania, and Sudan. We will before that, see a video by NORAD, so the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation's Director General, who will provide us with a small greeting. That will be followed by country presentations from Ghana, Tanzania, and Sudan, and a panel discussion. And then I hope we have time for a Q&A session before we wrap up the entire webinar with key takeaways from all the countries. So without further ado, I will give the word to NORAD's Director General, or a video rather.
Dear all, it's a great pleasure and an honor really to welcome you to this webinar on making gender equality work. My name is Bård Vegar Solhjell. I'm the Director General of NORAD, the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation. We work with gender as a specific issue, but also as a thematic perspective underpinning all our activities, whether it be on education or climate or health or others, and we work within the framework of the SDGs. I hope the session now will prove inspirational to you all. Employment matters, and we need you and others to push for equal participation in the labor market and to cast light on the important issues of employment and gender. Thank you.
Thank you, Bård Vegar. I would like to give the word to the country representative from the UN Population Fund, UNFPA, Mr. Niji Ojulape, but I am not sure whether he has been able to log on yet.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay, I just couldn't see you. Excellent, brilliant. Well, then the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Let me say thank you to everybody that has found it expedient to be on this webinar. Let me thank particularly the organizers, all of those who have put this together. We're very, very grateful that you have made this to happen, because it is, we need to continue to talk. We need to continue to identify what the issues are that we need to deal with. And I have just a short time, so I'm going to be brief and I'm going to be very, very summarizing, so to say. Making gender equality work in Ghana. I want to look at it from the side of the fact that what are the things that we need to do? What are the things that we think are outstanding, so to say? But before I say that, I will also need to commend the government and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in particular for the efforts that have been put in place so far, the functionaries, those who are working on the issues of gender equality and what have you. There's a lot that needs to be done, and there is a lot that is being done. For example, I've had quite a number of people who talk to me who mentioned the fact, oh, we're working the Ministry of Gender on this issue and that. So my question is, what are the particular things for which you are working with the Ministry of Gender? So it might be that the person is talking to them about social protection. The ministry is actually 3 ministries in one. It looks after gender, it looks after children, it looks after social protection. So that is a huge one for which we need to commend them for the work that they are doing in order to look at everything. Now, talking particularly about gender issues and especially gender equality, we must commend what government has done so far. We have a lot in place already. We have the legal frameworks, we have the policies, we have the plans, we have the interventions. Key sectors are also sensitized. And so we have a lot that is already in place. But even as we say that, we still have a long way to go. We're on the road, but it is still a very, very long journey ahead. And may I also say that we also need to add some more velocity and speed to the road on which we are traveling in order to be able to achieve more in the course of time. As it is, yes, we might be, when you look at our neighbors, particularly, we might be doing, we are probably doing better than most other countries around us are doing. But then for us in country, there are a couple of things that are expected of us because we're already on the way. So coming now to just mention a number of things. Presently, we are looking at the gender plan of the country, where we are coming from, so that we can do a bit of analysis, so that we can go forward. That's a good thing to do. And that is very necessary, because if we don't sit down to plan, if we don't sit down to see what we have done so far, in order to be able to project forward, we'll be working somewhere in the middle there, and then we'll not be achieving our full potential. So that is something that we need to do, the plan that we are presently reviewing. I'm also aware of the fact that there is a Ghana country gender equality profile that we are presently working on, supported by the African Development Bank and UN Women. That is a place to go, because it is that will provide us, the profile will provide the gender analysis of key sectors, the policies, the legal frameworks, and the institutions that are working in the area of gender. It will also help us to assess progress that are made and the challenges which we face in promoting gender equality and empowerment of women in a country. It will also help us to present information on the various ongoing gender-related development interventions. But I'll just mention two, because I know that I have limited time. I don't want to use all the time up. I'll just mention two things. The essence of having data. We need a system in place that will help us to get verifiable and credible data specifically about the issue of gender equality. We need to have, it needs to be a system that will be self-generating without even asking. And I'm in a good position to talk about this, because, for example, for us in United Nations Population Fund, we support the government of Ghana with the issues of population census. The last population census, we are the ones that are the main lead from development sector that was supporting the government of Ghana in delivering that population and housing census. And I'm happy to report that it went well and it was successful. But that is one activity that happens in 10 years, based on which we get figures. But within those 10 years, there are systems that are in place that enables us to know how many people are living, how many people are dying, what is happening. So this has to be a systemic issue based on which we can get that. So we need to have a system in place, and it is something that we need to work hard towards and to be deliberate in order to achieve that. That is one. The second thing, and I'm just talking about overarching things now. The second major thing that I want to talk about is the coordination function of the ministry. We have different organizations, different sectors, different CSOs working in different directions, doing good work and getting good results in different directions. But if we don't bring it all together, we will not be in a position to achieve synergy. We have to put ourselves in a situation whereby, and we need to support the Ministry of Gender to do this. And that's why I'm speaking on behalf of the UN team generally. That's a major issue which we are going to be working on in the next year or in the next couple of years. That let us do everything to support. Now let us do everything we can to support the Ministry of Gender so that they can coordinate well. It is then that we'll achieve synergy. So it will not just be the sum of the different parts that we are putting into it, but then we'll be able to come together, we'll be able to have a lot more, and we'll be able to achieve our potentials in this direction. If we're able to do these major things, I believe that the gender equality sector in Ghana will be transformed because several other things will follow. For example, all the different parts, all the NGOs, all the CSOs, and development partners and the UN agencies that are working in the issue of gender, it will feed into a particular repository which is set up at the Ministry of Gender based on which you can do. And to do that, finally, let me just say finally.
Yeah, I was just going to say, could you please wrap up because we're
yeah, that's what I'm doing. So to do that, every one of us, we need to support. The Ministry of Gender needs our support, both in resourcing and technical capabilities and all of that. They need to put meetings in place. They need to call all the stakeholders together, and all of this will cost resources. So if we can do that, it will be a way for us to get to the El Dorado that we're looking forward to in terms of gender equality in Ghana. And I want to thank you all very much for inviting me and for listening. Over.
Thank you so much for your engagement and for your tips for the way ahead and for taking the time. May I now give the word to Permanent Secretary Professor Jamal Katundu of the Ministry of Labour, Youth, Employment and Persons with Disability in Tanzania. I think we will be listening to a pre-recorded message if I'm not mistaken.
On behalf of the United Republic of Tanzania, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Norwegian Embassy for providing me this opportunity to share experience on making gender equality work, particularly in the world of work. Further, I would like to take this chance to pass the warm greeting from Her Excellency, Madam President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and secondly, to welcome all delegates of this forum at your leisure time to think and on visiting our beautiful country. My presentation will be having four main parts as follows. The first part, I will talk on the labor force characteristics, particularly in Tanzania. In terms of labor force participation rate in Tanzania mainland, women are less participating in the employment, which is almost 8.6% as compared to males, which are 86.3%. This implies that there is a greater achievement in terms of women participation in employment, but more efforts are needed to make sure that the 19.4% of the women engaged and above who are inactive to the different reasons, including home caring activities. When it comes to an overview of gender equality in the world of work, particularly in United Republic of Tanzania, we have made greater progress in mainstreaming gender issues in its development agenda. The portion of women employed or engaged in the higher level decision-making bodies is significantly improving. For example, the proportion of women in the parliament is about 36.7%. In the cabinet of ministries is 35%. In the judges, almost 40%, and a good number of permanent secretaries. Third part I would like to talk about is gender equality and ILO Foundation conventions, of which the United Republic of Tanzania has ratified. In fact, the country has ratified all 8 fundamentals ILO convention, which provide the ground for gender equality in the world of work. Now, maybe let's share experience from Tanzania and probably the strategies we have used to achieve, to reach this achievement. And some of the strategies maybe of which I would like to share, or which has given us opportunity to stand at this position. First, it derives from the Constitution of the United Republic of Tanzania of 1977 as amended from time to time. The second registration or laws which has contributed to the achievement we have made with the Employment and Labor Relations Act, CAP 366, as revised in 2019. Furthermore, the United Republic of Tanzania, through the Labor Commissioner Office, it is mandated to conduct labor inspection in the workplace. This inspection, which among other things, help to eliminate all forms of gender discrimination in a country. To conclude, gender equality is a cross-cutting issue for any sustainable development. Hence, plans and action for promoting equal opportunities for all in workplaces has been part in the routine labor inspection program in Tanzania. Thank you for participation and welcome to Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Now, please let me give the word to Her Excellency Ms. Maha Awad, Government Representative from Sudan. She will speak in Arabic, and you can see or read rather a transcription of a presentation in English on your screen. We will be sharing the presentation afterwards if it's difficult to follow. Please, Your Excellency, the word is yours.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السادة ممثلي وزارة الخارجية النرويجية وممثلي كل من دول تنزانيا وغانا والسادة المشاركين والجهات المنظمة للمنتدى، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأسعد الله نهاركم بكل خير. أنا مها عوض السيد، مدير وحدة النوع الاجتماعي بوزارة العمل والإصلاح الإداري السودانية. يسعدني ويشرفني أن أكون إحدى المشاركين بهذا المنتدى، وأن أقدم لكم التجربة السودانية فيما يختص بحقوق المرأة العاملة في التشريعات الوطنية وما جاءت به معايير العمل الدولية والإقليمية لتحقيق مبدأ المساواة بين الجنسين في القطاعين العام والخاص، حيث تضمنت لائحة الخدمة المدنية القومية لسنة 2007 تمييزاً إيجابياً لصالح المرأة للمساواة في التشغيل والأجر والبديل النقدي والترقي والتدريب والإجازات والعلاوة الاجتماعية. كما نص دستور جمهورية السودان الانتقالي لسنة 2005 على تعزيز المساواة بين المرأة والرجل في الحقوق والواجبات وتمكين المرأة في الحياة العملية. فيما يختص بقانون الخدمة المدنية القومية لسنة 2007، أشارت المادة 102 تستحق المرأة المتزوجة إجازة وضوع مدتها 8 أسابيع، وتستحق إجازة لمدة 2 عام للعناية بطفلها بدون أجر، إجازة أمومة. المادة 104 تمنح المرأة العاملة التي توفى عنها زوجها إجازة عدة بالأجر الكامل تبدأ من تاريخ الوفاة ومدتها 4 أشهر و10 أيام إن لم تكن المرأة حبلى. أما إذا كانت حبلى تمنح إجازة عدة تنتهي بوضع مولودها وتمنح بعدها إجازة وضوع. إجازة مرافقة الزوج، أشارت المادة 3.1 تستحق الزوجة العاملة بعد اجتياز فترة الاختبار إجازة بدون أجر لمرافقة زوجها خارج القطر لمدة أقصاها 5 سنوات. أما فيما يختص بالتشريعات والقوانين الوطنية الخاصة بالمرأة في القطاع الخاص، قانون العمل 1997 أشارت المادة 19 لا يجوز تشغيل النساء في الأعمال الخطرة أو الأعمال التي تحتاج إلى مجهود جسماني كبير أو المضرة بالصحة، وكذلك الأعمال التي تعرضها للمواد السامة أو البرودة أو الحرارة التي تتجاوز الحدود المعقولة. المادة 20.8 لا يجوز تشغيل النساء فيما بين الساعة 10 والساعة 6 صباحاً. إجازة الوضع المادة 46 واحد تستحق المرأة العاملة إجازة وضوع بأجر كامل تحسب على الوجه الآتي: 4 أسابيع قبل الوضع و4 أسابيع بعد الوضع. لا يجوز فصل المرأة العاملة أثناء فترة الحمل والوضوع. في إطار تمكين المرأة اقتصاديا واجتماعيا والتمتع بجميع حقوقها، فإن السودان يعتبر من الدول المصادقة على اتفاقيات العمل الدولية ال8 للقضاء على كافة أشكال التمييز. وهنالك جهود مبذولة على تطوير وتحديث التشريعات الوطنية التي تدعم عمل المرأة في القطاعين العام والخاص، وتطوير بيئة العمل في الحياة العملية، وذلك بتوفير البيانات والإحصاءات التي تدعم قضايا النوع، ودمج قضايا المرأة في جميع خطط وبرامج وسياسات الوزارات والوحدات الحكومية لأغراض المساواة وسد الفجوة بين الجنسين. نشكر وزارة الخارجية النرويجية والجهات المنظمة للمنتدى والمشاركين، ونتمنى الاستفادة من تبادل الخبرات والتجارب دوليا وإقليميا. شكرا.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I invite our distinguished panel to join me here at the digital table. From Ghana, we have Ms. Philomena Abba Samson, Vice Chairperson of the Ghana Mine Workers Union and Vice Chairperson in the Ghana Trade Union Congress. Dr. Stella Boateng, Deputy Chief Executive of Volta River Authority, representing the Ghana Employers Association. Ms. Azza Mahmoud Nouri El Amin, CSI and Social Partnerships Manager at Dal Group in Sudan. Professor Balgis Yusuf Badri, Director of the Regional Institute for Gender Diversity, Peace and Rights. And Ms. Susan Ndomba Duran, CEO of the Association of Tanzania Employers. I hope the others that I can't see can join us. I think it's Dr. Vidad Abdelram instead of Professor Balgis. Maybe. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, good. And Susan. Right, okay. Let's hope the others can join us when they can. In the meantime, we can start with, if you're comfortable with that, Azza, we can start with your presentation. We can put your presentation up on the screen and then we can start.
Yes, please. Shall we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm very honored to be presenting DAL Group, or DAL Food in particular, which is the food section within DAL Group companies. Today, I'm reflecting our effort on gender equality. First, let me start with what we're currently doing. We're reviewing and updating our internal policies. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the sound is a bit...
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just the sound is a bit on and off. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably your internet connection.
So,
yeah.
Maybe, yeah. So we're reviewing policies with regard to equal pay promotion policy. We have currently last year, for example, 2020, 167 promotions. 15 were women only. We have the policies like no discrimination against gender, violence against women, and anti-harassment. There are still issues we are challenging the policymakers on. For example, like maternity leave, for example, 8 weeks or 56 days still not enough. And it's a reason for some women to leave work after giving birth. We have social initiatives. For example, our school feeding initiatives. They have direct impact on access to school to girls, and this is reflected in the dropout rates and absenteeism rates. dropped from 60% to 0% after joining the program. And it has direct, indirect impact on child marriage, and this is done through a demographic study as well. We have other social enterprise activities or social activities that lead to support small enterprises, like Inti, which means Arabic you when addressing a female. And this is also moving to communal baking centers where women can just go bring their ingredients and go bake their stuff, since we are the biggest flour mill company in Sudan. We have also part of our inclusion program. We're targeting people with disabilities, and among the people with disabilities, we're definitely targeting women, and we're easing the application for women to encourage them be part of the program. As a food manufacturing company, of course, the majority of the workforce lie in the sales force, drivers, forklift drivers, warehouse operators, and this is mainly in men. But we have two initiatives that aim to increase the number of female participation in the company, like the multi-fruit processing facility in Abu Jbeha, which is in South Kordofan, a conflict-affected zone. This aims to increase the female participation, which is currently only 7%, from 7% to 10%. And also we have other women groups managed by CARE, our partner in this project, CARE International. We also believe in partnerships. And of course, we have other rural development initiatives in the area that will indirectly affect the gender equality, like access to clean water in terms of storage and distribution, energy, infrastructure, education, and healthcare. The other initiative is called Gadreen. Gadreen is an Arabic word, which means we are capable. Gadreen is a very good initiative, actually, and only in phase 1, it is supposed to increase the female participation from 10% to 15% in phase 1 only. And eventually it will increase to 25%. What we're targeting here, it's not only women, but to eliminate the contractors and start hiring the labor force directly. So we registered the company. It's like a recruitment company in 2020, January 2020. We're targeting disadvantaged segments in the blue collar level. The first batch was only women, 32 women in the shop floor area. And in the future, now the number of female who join the company as employees in Dal Food, not only in Gadreen, because in Gadreen will be just the starting, and then we move them to Dal Food when they pass the probation period. So you see in the disadvantaged, the segments targeted. Yes, we have physically like challenged, deaf, muted, visually impaired, people with speaking difficulty and moving disability, and of course women fall under all these groups. But in this next section, economically challenged, you find the first one is women, and we are targeting women, approaching women, and we are actually increasing the female participation in the company through these initiatives. And in phase 2, we are thinking of vocational training centers in partnership, maybe in partnership with the government, or we're doing in solo. And we're trying to develop the technical skills of women as well. So the technical skills of women will allow them for more jobs within the company, not only in DAL, but of course we will give them certification. We will align with the international body for international certification and getting them a chance to work in different companies as well. We have the apprenticeship program for technical people, also girls and boys. And also we're targeting the soft skills training, and this is all fall under the inclusive initiatives or inclusive program. Hopefully by end of 2024, we'll be able to increase the number of female participation to 25% if everything goes as planned. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Azza. We will get in the rest of the panel, and I think everyone should be there. Susan, are you available to come on board now?
I'm on board already.
Excellent. I just couldn't see you.
Yes.
And then maybe my colleague can also put you up on the panel screen. Well, if not, we can at least hear you. That's the start. So I was wondering, you're the CEO of the Association of Tanzania Employers, and you're also a so-called Female Future alumni. And I was wondering if you could share some of your experiences from the Female Future program that ATE is running and that you yourself have participated in.
Yeah, thank you very much first for having me in, and congratulations on this webinar on the gender equality. And you know, there's so much of exciting news in Tanzania when it comes to Female Future. Maybe some of you know, but I'll be very happy to share some of the success stories, myself being one of the Female Future alumni. In Tanzania, the Female Future program was actually launched in 2006, and by then it was launched by the current president of United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan. By then she was the vice president of the United Republic of Tanzania. So in 2006 and up to this 2021, 2022, we are going into cohort 8. But you can imagine from the first cohort to cohort 7, the program itself, it has made a lot of noise around in the country, because in most of our events, first we introduced the annual leadership conference, which is actually every year, just the 2 years of 2021 and 2020. 2021 we did it. So now we are on the 4th annual leadership conference, and in each of these annual leadership conference, this is where the participants from that cohort, they're actually graduating, but we get to invite the chief guests from the government. So we have had the vice president herself last year, the current president, who was the vice president last year in March, to be the chief guest on our annual leadership conference. But we have also had ministers in these events. And last year, when we were having the annual leadership conference, the 3rd one, the vice president, she made a call on the Female Future program to be taken to the public sector. And since then, we launched the Female Future program for the members of parliament last year in November. So, and here we are talking about how many members of parliament for Tanzania mainland itself. As you know, the United Republic of Tanzania includes Zanzibar. And so for the Tanzania mainland itself, we are talking about 100+ members of parliament. So we launched it last year in November, and the classes for the members of parliament will be starting in March 30th. So they're going to start, we are going to have classes during the budgetary sessions from March to July. And just the good news, they actually continue that on the 17th of February this year, 2 weeks to come, we'll be launching the Female Future program for the House of Representatives in Zanzibar. So we have managed actually to cross over from the private sector to the government. And this was a call that was made by the president by then when she was the vice president. And we have had the Speaker of the National Assembly being the chief guest on this launch. And we actually going to have also the Speaker of the House of Parliament being the chief guest for the launch of the Female Future program in Zanzibar. But on private sector itself, currently we are running to 201 participants who have participated on the Female Future program. And actually, the feedback are very good, because there are some who have actually attained, higher positions in their organizations, and some have actually being good entrepreneurs. They've started their own businesses. But again, you talk about confidence and empowerment and sharing. It has always been positive in all the classes that the participants have done. But then again, you look at the organizations themselves, the companies, the private sector. They've continued sending. We talk about banks, we talk about NGOs, we talk about public corporations. They send their female employees to this program because they see the value. But again, speaking about myself, because you did ask about that, I am a Female Future participant alumni, cohort 1, 2007. I became the CEO of the Association of Tanzania Employers in October 1st, 2021. And when I was appointed by the board everybody was calling me to say, you have written in your CV, you are the female future. Was this the reason that I became? So you can imagine just, and now we are going to launch cohort 8 in March with more than 40 participants. So, you know, the program has been very successful in Tanzania, and it's just good news. And I would just welcome everybody to come, and if there's anything that you can learn or anything, I hope that will be enough for now.
Thank you very much, Susan. That's indeed uplifting that it is such a success, and that something from the private sector can actually inspire the public sector. Mm-hmm. We will get back to you in a few minutes, but I would also like to give the word to Ms. Philomena Abba Samson and to share some of her insights. And working on gender equality in your organization, so from the trade union side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences as an organization. Gender equality is an important priority area for Trade Union Congress Ghana. Women participation in the labor market has been growing. In spite of this, women continue to face discrimination and marginalization. We talk about pay gaps, we talk about harassment and discrimination in recruitment processes, as earlier shared by our previous speakers. Unions are incorporating gender perspective in their work by giving fair and proportionate attention to the differential needs and interests of women and men, as well as opportunities for representation and participation in the labor market and in the Ghanaian society in general. I would like to share a few examples how the unions are working to achieve gender equality. One of such examples is our use of deliberate policies and constitutional provisions, which make some progress have been made in the TUC towards achieving gender equality, particularly women representation in decision-making bodies. Leadership commitment to include more women in leadership has led to concrete results. And from one woman as a departmental head in 1998 at the TUC, now I can boast of 17 women in key leadership positions at national levels. We also use collective bargaining. We engage in collective bargaining on behalf of workers. It's a key task for trade unions. We have several examples of inclusion of important women's rights issues into collective bargaining. And one example I would like to share is General Construction, Manufacturing and Quarry Workers Union of TUC. This is a union that is male-dominated. And I'm happy to say that the General Secretary for this union is a woman. The union has included issues of women's rights like sexual harassment and exploitation in the conditions of service. Only few women are tractor operators and surveyors in such construction industries. Majority of these women find themselves at the lower levels. We talk of cooks, we talk of secretaries, we talk of cleaners, where sexual exploitation and abuse is very strong. Another example is our collective agreement for TUC staff. We have family-friendly provisions in our collective agreements, such as loans for children's education if needed. Medication is free. Sometimes we give funeral grants, among others. Most importantly, I would like to share the childcare facility we have created at the TUC headquarters. This to help women to have sound mind when they come to work. We also use a tool like organizing. A second key task for trade unions is to organize workers. If workers are organized, then trade unions can bargain collectively and work to promote the respect of workers' rights. Organizing women workers is crucial, since we know that women workers continue facing discrimination in their working life, as mentioned above. Female membership of the TUC has improved over the years because of the work we are doing as a trade union, standing as an estimated 25% in 2023. It has rose to 40% and 45% in 2017 and 2020, respectively. We have used some methods to achieve this inroads. And I must say, through the support of LO Norway, the TUC undertook a participatory gender audit in March 2020. It is for organizational self-assessment on gender issues. Based on the recommendation, a gender action plan was developed, and this has served as a strategic plan to guide the TUC in its efforts towards the promotion of gender equality and women participation and representation in decision-making structures. Out of this gender audits, TUC, which is Trade Union Congress, were able to institute a Gender Champion Awards. And I must say, at our 11th Quadrennial Delegate Congress, that is in 2021 to 2024, two main unions, which are also male-dominated, that the Health Service Workers Union and the Public Service Workers Union, were awarded. These are unions who have women in leadership positions, and this is the first of its kind. And I must say, this has positively challenged other unions to do more to promote the cause of women and their affiliates. In doing that, we also use education as a tool. You know, we are trying to build up women negotiators, and this will empower the women to be part of negotiation team to ensure that important women issues find themselves in our collective bargaining agreements. Issues such as maternity, childcare, wage inequalities, violence and harassment. These are very good things. And you know, as women, we can tell our story better. So if you are able to get women as negotiators, they will be there to articulate gender issues. We also use research. We have evidence-based research. It's important for promoting gender equality. TUC Labor Research Department and Policy Institutes undertook extensive research and policy analysis that has informed the position of the TUC. Some of the research work that has been done is gender impact of COVID-19 in Ghana. This was also supported by LO Norway, and for that, we are much, much thankful. In fact, and we also did work on impact of COVID-19 on the informal economy. One key examples of good practices that I want to share that exist in Ghana. Now, let me throw highlights on social dialogue. It's firmly established at both national and enterprise level. The national level being the tripartite level and the bipartite level in Ghana. The social partners, mainly government, employers, and organized labor, represented by the TUC, have shown commitment and mutual respect to one another, especially at the national level. And there are two important avenues for unions to dialogue on national issues. These are the National Tripartite Committee and the Social Partnership Council. And some of the work that we have done is that we are working together to ensure the ratification of Convention 190. Social partners have been working very hard on the baseline analysis to support the ratification process. We have also done some work on passage of Domestic Workers Regulation 2020. And one of the work that we are currently on is working to review the labor laws. That is
Philomena, I feel
Yes.
a bit rude for having to interrupt you, but would it be possible to stop there for now, and then we can revert back to you after we've heard from Dr. Widad, since we're a bit on overtime? Is that okay?
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
It was very interesting to hear the magnitude of the work, and that it's paying off, and the different methods that you have employed. It's great insight that you've shared with us. Thank you. So now let me please give the word to Dr. Widad from the Regional Institute for Gender, Diversity, Peace and Rights in Sudan, please. I can't hear you. I'm gonna see if I can unmute you. There, okay, now.
Hello, hello everybody. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
You can start
Hello.
again. Thank you.
Greetings from Sudan, and thanks to the Norwegian government and to the organizers of this forum for including us as an organization. My organization is Ahfad University for Women, an institution which is dedicated to achieving gender equity, equality, and women empowerment through providing excellence in higher education in Sudan. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And I would like to salute the Sudanese women for taking part into the transformation in our society that is going on now. And we hope for the best of Sudanese women, Sudanese men, and the society at large. Thank you very much. Okay, my insights actually goes or revolve around two questions that have been provided to us to speak about. First of all, we would like to see to talk around the issues of women participation or issues around women participation in the labor market. And the second part is to reflect on success stories on the business part of the labor market and the involvement of women in that sector. Many efforts have been going in Sudan trying to achieve gender equity, equality, and to maintain higher levels of women empowerment. These efforts have been collaborated by many stakeholders, the government, UN agencies, national CBOs, and community organizations. And a lot of work has been done, and I believe some progress have been noticed and is taking place. However, we are still faced with a lot of challenges for women participation in the labor market in general and in the business domain in particular. I think, personally, I think we have a basic issue of gender stereotype and gender attitudes toward the capacity of women and their ability, the ability of women of being able to join the different aspects of a labor market activities. So this stereotypical challenge is behind placing women into a wrong position even when a chance for recruitment is occurred. So it's, to me, it's not only a gender gap or gender inequality in the recruitment process, rather it's a problem or a challenge of the position of women along the hierarchy of work in the institutions, be it private or public. So this stereotype and the position of women most of the times at the bottom of the hierarchy of employment lead to implications such of lack of decision-making power, lack of or limited access to income and resources. So this is, to me, a major part which needs tackling in the beginning before seeing women positions improve. Unless we change the gender attitude and the stereotypical belief that women are less capable, then we still face the issue of discrimination along the labor market, formal and public and private. So this stereotypical challenge has put women again in a position of taking full responsibility of care economy. And the issue of care economy, as has been mentioned before and is well documented in the literature, is behind the disadvantagedness of women in access to work and the ability of taking a free decision to work, for example, in an open array of jobs. And this responsibility, or this belief of responsibility of women to the care economy has constrained women to a limited choice of either working from home or working flexible hours and part-time jobs. So this it doesn't only make women sacrifice better position and better income, but it also make women sacrifice other elements of empowerment. So even if a woman can achieve economical empowerment by working this type of limited work, then she is definitely losing on other elements of empowerment, like having decision making, like having agency, like having freedom of choice. All these elements of empowerment are lacked, because to us, women empowerment is only economical. We need to have at a broader strategic needs to be fulfilled through women's work in the labor market. And by that stereotype and confining women to flexible work make women lose a lot. So in general, we need also to, if we want to improve the status of women within the work, the labor market, we need to enhance women's capacity in terms of knowledge, skill, and capacity building in more advanced technology-based and digital type of doing work. So wherever technology is mentioned, we find women are somehow, again, due to the gender beliefs, somehow women are excluded from the chance to gain technology. And in that respect, I would like to reflect on a very important sector in Sudan, which is agriculture. Agriculture is not only the backbone, it is the backbone and the flesh of Sudanese economy. And in rural areas where most of the agriculture schemes are done, 85% of the work is done by women. But again, due to gender inequalities, we find women are deprived from access to technology, access to land, and access to decision making about even the money that she earns from her activity as a farmer, as a worker in the agricultural sector. So if we think of gender equality between rural and urban areas, and we try to bring the balance. So I think we need to focus on a lot of issues to be taken care of within the agricultural sector, because this sector is dominated by female rural women, and attention has to be put there.
Thank you, Dr. Widad. I'm wondering if you would like to just wrap up your intervention, please.
Yeah, I would like to wrap up my intervention by two issues. The first issue is that it's not enough to have much policies, much laws, and much regulations and legal statements. It's important to see them enforced. It's important to see what laws, like for example, land ownership. It's not enough to have legal forms or legal statements. It's important to see them enforced and brought to action. Another area that I want to take home from to highlight is how to avail funds to achieve or to implement all the interventions and programs that are put through by different bodies, government, and other stakeholders. We need to find the funds. And for that, we have been always advocating to have gendered budgets. And gender budgeting should be a priority for our government at the time of developing the overall budget. Unless we have the funds allocated properly for activities that enhance gender equality, we can never reach a point in that direction. Last point I want to raise, which
please,
is
very last point, please.
Yeah, very last point is to bring to the surface the issue of harassment at the workplace related to the decent work condition. I didn't hear I didn't see examples a lot written or discussed within our context, our research, or our discussions on the issue of harassment at the workplace. We want our women to feel safe, comfortable, and respected at the workplace. So this is my last point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And a very important last point, may I add. I think one of our colleagues from the Norwegian Mesta business, she mentioned that the construction industry was maybe rife with challenges along those lines. But yes, we haven't digged deeper into that. I have heard that Dr. Boateng from the Ghanaian Enterprise Association will be joining us. I'm crossing my fingers. But before we hear her voice, there was has it been answered? There was a question to the DAL group. So maybe Azza, you could answer that question. It says, looking at all the support that the DAL group does for women in skills and economic empowerment, are you also encouraging freedom of assembly, collective bargaining? And is there a good representation for women in the corporate trade union? That was a question from Abdel Slam.
Yes, I answered the question to him written, but I can mention that as well. So the policies are there, but we have to admit there are gaps between the written policies and the implementation. So what we currently do is we are encouraging the freedom of association, and we believe that it's a prerequisite for collective bargaining. So by encouraging that and encouraging the connectivity and the negotiation between the two, the labor or the workforce and the employer, we will reach that, of course, and it's starting to shape something. But we're
Excellent.
currently in the process of bridging the gap. Excellent,
thank you. One thing that we haven't really addressed, and that's quite a big difference between Norway and the countries that are represented here now, Ghana, Sudan, and Tanzania, and that is informal employment. So in Norway, the vast majority are informal employment. But how do you tackle these issues when the rate of informal employment is so high? Maybe each of you could reflect a minute or two on that. Philomena, do you want to start? And then I'll give the word to Susan if you have any thoughts, or Dr. Vidad.
Yes, I would like to start. As I've mentioned earlier, organizing is crucial, and we have managed to organize more women in recent years in the informal sector. I would like to throw a highlight on the story of UNIWA. Informal economy workers constitute about 80% of the total workforce in Ghana, with the majority of them being women. The informal employment comes with significant decent work deficits. Informal workers work long hours and under very unsatisfactory health and safety conditions. They earn low incomes and are more likely than their counterparts in the formal sector to be poor. Organizing informal economy workers is important to give them a voice. In 1996, the TUC Ghana adopted a policy on organizing the informal economy. And this is the Union of Informal Workers Association, which we call UNIWA. And we formed this organization in 2020, among others, 2015, sorry, among others. This is to ensure that we have effective representation of informal economy workers and their associations in the structures of TUC Ghana. So from 14 associations that we were able to organize in 2015, we can now talk about 20 associations comprising market traders, porters, street vendors, domestic workers, artisans, actors in the music industry, and mining communities. Now, UNIWA has a membership of about 87,000. And I must say, this has helped a lot to give them a voice. And we are able to also look into their challenges as well. And when COVID broke, UNIWA members were provided with personal protective equipment to help them in their work, because the trade unions came to their aid because they are in the structures. And you know, they work a lot in the markets. So you need to protect them when COVID broke. And they also benefited from sensitization programs, and for them to also know the importance of immunization and vaccination, and out of which a lot of them have benefits from the vaccination system that is going on in the country by the government. That's what we have done so far through the trade unions, because they now have a voice within the structures of TUC. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very interesting. Susan, do you have any reflections that you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you. It's a very interesting question when we talk about informal economy. And as she says, Philomena, you know, a number of women who work in the informal economy, actually, they're actually more than what we can imagine. And they find themselves into, you know, not on decent work. They do jobs long hours. The conditions of work, they're not very good. But if we speak for Tanzania, I would like to probably speak more about what the law provides. Yes, the law can provide, the Employment and Labor Relations Act provide for compliance, whether you're in informal economy or you're not in the informal economy. So the mechanisms, they are there, but the access of those mechanisms, that is something very, very different. So in this aspect, me coming from an employer organization, and if we want to talk on how the workers in the informal economy can be protected against malpractice and unfair labor practices, we can only rely on the trade unions. So as an employer organizations, what do we do? Because we have a very good relationship with the trade unions in Tanzania. We encourage social dialogue. We encourage social dialogue where we discuss and come up with programs. Issues of decent work agendas, they are being discussed along with the government as social partners and tripartite partners to discuss on what kind of policies and what are the laws that can protect everyone inclusively, given the informal or the informal. Because the issues of informal economy, not only, yes, they affect women more, but they go beyond that. You talk about social security. Most of these women, they're not even covered with the social security. So you can imagine, you know, they have number of problems. And we can continue discussing it, but at least in Tanzania, the trade unions, the employer organization and the government, they can sit on the same table and make the discussions around it on how you can make inclusion of, we talk about gender equality and the issues of inclusiveness to make sure that they are also protected. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Susan. Azza, I saw that you rose your hand and then you put it back down again. Would you like to say something?
No, yes, please. Informal employment, yes, the initiative that I have mentioned, the GADREAM, this is the main target actually for GADREAM, because the norm was to bring a third party or a contractor to bring labor or a number of informal employers. So with these initiatives, we are hiring them directly. Through that, we're giving them better pay, access to rights, for example, annual leave, and also healthcare. So we're doing our part in this as a private sector, and we encourage all other companies to do the same, because when we try to measure the impact, it's huge.
Thank you, Azza. And now, with only 1 minute delay, which I think is kind of amazing after all of these interesting interventions today, we actually need to move into our final session. So I would like to thank the panelists for taking valuable time off. I know you have busy schedules and a lot of responsibility in the positions that you currently hold. There are a few questions in the chat and Q&A that we haven't been able to address here. But if the panelists are able to, you could check the chat and the Q&A and maybe just respond to the participants directly in the chat. I think they would value that. And with that, I will actually already now just hand the word to Director Faustina Ashiampong, excuse my pronunciation, it's probably completely off the radar, Chief Planning Officer and Head Department of Gender in the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And she will be speaking on behalf of Chief Director Dr. Afisa Zakaria.
Hello, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
My technical guru, Ula, can you please put Faustina up on the screen so everyone can see her?
Okay, I think I can be seen now.
Yes, I can see you, thank you.
Okay. I think I have 2 minutes to do this. So good afternoon once again to everyone. This morning, we have had a lot of interesting discussions, and we are grateful to everyone. On behalf of the Chief Director of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, I wish to give these brief remarks as our closing remarks. This meeting, I would say, has really given us the opportunity to share experiences and ideas. And we all know that every economy is more robust and sustainable when women and men alike participate fully in the labor market. And it is also known that gender equality has a transformative effect on productivity and growth, especially when women's full economic and productive potentials are realized. And from today's discussion, I want to entreat all members countries here, Ghana, Tanzania, Sudan, that we should continue to make progress, that will ensure that men and women have equal opportunities at the work environment, and we all share, or we should continue to work to embark on our journey to promote women participation in the labor market. But as a food for thought, as we live here, can we also say that our focus should also, we should also focus at aiming and to appreciate and recognize the unpaid work that are being done, especially by our women and girls. This is just a food for thought. Maybe at our next meeting, we can deliberate more on this. So on these few notes, I say a very thank you to everyone, and may God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time and stopping in your car to speak to us. Now, I will hand the word to Professor Ms. Samia Sati Osman Mohammed Noor from the University of Khartoum, Head of Faculty of Economics. And after we've heard from Sudan, we will hear from Tanzania, and then Norway will just wrap up the session, my colleague in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So please, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon for everybody. Thank you for this important opportunity. I would like to thank you for this fruitful discussion, and I am happy to participate in this important forum. We all know that non-discrimination and promoting equality have been fundamental for both developed and developing countries. And we also know that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal confirmed the importance of improving access to education and employment. I think for the case of Sudan, it is very important to improve employment opportunity for women. In particular, because labor force participation rate for women is less than men, and this has been a phenomenon for a long time. So I think it is very important to improve participation rate for women in the labor market. In addition, I also would like to substantiate the improve of the working condition for women workers, and also to make work-life balance a priority. I would also like to confirm the importance of improving or ensuring commitment to decent work. In particular, I think it is very important to improve social protection for women by providing health insurance and social insurance. I think this is a problem for Sudan because of a large proportion of women employment in informal sector. Employment in informal sector means that women are at risk because they lack social protection and they lack social insurance and health insurance. So I think it is very important for policymakers in Sudan to improve the social protection for women. I also would like to substantiate promoting equality of women and men workers as regard to access to occupation and post. It is also very important to remove the gender pay gap in Sudan because we realize the gender gap in all occupation. So it is very important to take appropriate measures to ensure the application of the principle of equal payment for men and women for work of equal value to all employees of the public and private sector. Regarding the challenge, I think one of the challenge regarding the case of Sudan is the low participation rate of women, and also the lack of social protection and lack of commitment to decent work. In addition to this challenge, I think a new challenge is created by COVID. I think COVID-19 created challenge for labor market in all world country. For Sudan, my recent study, I have done a recent research analyzing the impact of COVID on labor market by gender. I realized that women are affected more than men by COVID in terms of loss of employment, loss of job, and also because of women taking the responsibility of home and educating children. So this creates more challenge for women to make the right balance between working condition in also and working from home. So this creates further challenge for women. So I hope that more policy instrument could be made for the future to improve the work for women from home, in case that women face such situation like COVID, can make the right balance between work and between life. But I would like to substantiate the improvement of labor participation rate for women, because still the participation rate for women are less than men. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan, is it correct that you will be holding the closing remarks from Tanzania? Have I understood that correctly?
Yes, correct.
Excellent. Please.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say that, today in these discussions, it has actually provided a very rich buffet of inspirations on how jointly we can address gender equality and women's rights in working life. It is very inspiring to learn from the experiences of employers and the trade unions in different contexts in Norway, in Ghana, and Sudan. I'm also very happy to have been able to share the experiences from Tanzania, my own country, but also as the CEO of the Association of Tanzanian Employers and the Female Future Alumni Cohort 1 in Tanzania. I'm very much passionate about constructive social dialogue and the tripartite contributions between employers, organizations, trade unions, and the government on issues of gender equality. I strongly agree with the previous speakers that it's very important to address gender equality and women's rights at the macro level, and note that some of the take-home messages from the other speakers on the issue of how to contribute on enabling environment for women participation in working life, policy formulation, access to technology, and continuous collection of data, because we need to have more data to make sure that we should know how many women in the working life that they are protected, so that we can convince our governments on how to change the policies and have better policies for women in different aspects, from social security and any other, let it be probably the international labor standards. Representing employers, I'm also very inspired by the fact that gender equality in working life is a clear business case. And I especially enjoyed some of the examples and arguments that have been given by different speakers, including the Norwegian enterprise. And also my own association is offering tools to address gender equality in the future. But also it's also very interesting to see in Tanzania now, the program that has come completely from the private sector is actually growing. And actually this is a cry of the government itself. So you can see the contribution of the private sector to the public sector. This is very, very exciting. So, and therefore, the same team for sustainable, this encourages sustainable, diverse, and inclusive societies, which makes for a potential message on the female future message, which says we need to make each other better as the female future spirit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And for the final words of this webinar, please, Ms. Sissel Bleken from the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She's a policy director and she will be closing this event. Thank you very much for your time and your kind attention. I am sorry we are a few minutes beyond our scheduled time, but I hope you can still stay logged on to just hear the final closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you to all the participants. It's been very, very interesting and very encouraging to hear all the different experiences and the good ideas about how to ensure women's participation in the workforce. So let me start with saying that women's rights to participate in the workforce on equal terms with men is a right in itself. It's a right to decent work, equal pay for work of equal value. But it's also, we have heard, it pays off and it contributes to reducing inequalities. To ensure this, we need leadership and political will, as we have heard, and that's about maybe even most important attitude, but also attention and understanding of the importance of including women in the workforce. To achieve that, we need legislation, which I heard many mention and which I think is in place, very much in place in many other countries. But what is lacking quite often is the implementations, which means we need to ensure not only that we have the right laws, but also that they are implemented. And to contribute to that, I think the social dialogue that we heard about is an important element. We have heard that it's been successful in many countries, and that we have seen here today as well, having participants from the governments as well as from the trade unions and the employers. And this cooperation, I think, is crucial. We also heard someone saying that we need feminists everywhere, and I totally agree. You know, this is not only about women, it's about equally important including men and creating awareness among men as well about the importance of women's participation. And we need to work both on national and local level. And to ensure good participation, we also need to know what is actually the situation. So data and statistics is one of the important things that has been mentioned several times. And the reference to a gender audit mentioned, I think, by one of the representatives from Ghana was quite interesting. And what is that? And is that something that can be used more thoroughly to improve situation? A number of you have also touched upon the digital transformation and the opportunities and the importance then of having more women into science and technology and into engineering. There are lots of opportunities, but we might also risk with the green shift and the technology that inequalities are increasing rather than decreasing. So education and starting early with education is extremely important. So, but to have women in decision-making positions, we also need to make sure that they have a safe workspace. Harassment and exploitation has been mentioned, and I'd like to draw the attention and also to the ILO Convention 190, which is a recent convention and which I think it's important for a number of countries to look into, including Norway. I know there is a process in Norway, but it's important to make sure for women to participate in the workforce, they need to be safe. And then one more thing that's been touched upon by a number of participants is the combination of work life and family life. The care economy, the increased burdens of women also when it comes to the COVID pandemic. So we need to make sure that there are childcare facilities. I think the stories about the grandmothers were quite inspiring. When I grew up, and I'm much younger than those grandmothers, where I grew up, there were no kindergarten. It was I think 3 or 4 hours a day where we could go. So my mother was part-time working only. Other elements, of course, is parental leave and also health services. So I'd like to touch upon something which is a bit controversial, which has not been mentioned today, but which I think is also important, and that is women's rights to decide over their own body. And in this respect, particularly, to decide when to have children and how many children. So access to contraceptives and health services, I think, is also essential for ensuring that women can participate in the workforce on equal terms with men. We have touched upon the informal labor market. I think that's something that we need to look more into, but I'm not sort of going to give any comments on that. I just want to close on saying thank you and hope that this has been, the start of a continued dialogue and sharing of experiences across the countries that has participated here today. To me, it's been very, very inspiring. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. I wish you all a lovely afternoon.